Okay, man, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Now, come on, now crank this motherfucker up.
Break it down like this.
Hello, Internet. Gino, that Pinguino Greco here again with another episode of Deep Listens, and today I am happy to say we're getting rolled up, folks. We played Katamari Damacy, roll me up, roll me away, punt me into the stars, because we all had a great time with this game. And I am joined to discuss this game, as I am with all games, by Pete Busby. Hello, Pete.
Hey. How's it going, everybody? This is a very good ball-based game. I'm excited to talk about it. So in honor of that, I have a fun fact about eyeballs.
No.
Yeah. Actually about eye tubes. This one actually is fun, I promise.
Okay.
So you know how like owls can basically turn their entire heads around?
Yeah.
It's never occurred to me to like wonder why. I was just like, oh, like owls. That's a thing they do. That's awesome. But turns out owls don't have traditional eyeballs. What they have instead is eye tubes. So they have like cylindrical eyes, which allows them to take in more light to see in the dark. But as a result, they can't really move their eyes because they're fixed in the sockets. They're these long tubes. So that's why owls have to turn their heads all the way around because they can't move their eyes instead.
So they can only look forward?
Basically, yeah.
So their whole neck, everything about their physiology was like, we are all in on binocular vision. Moving eyes is stupid. We will move everything else instead.
Pretty much, yeah.
Incredible. I had not even thought about that. You're right.
That's what I'm saying. Never occurred to me to wonder about it.
Horrifying. Well, hopefully our other regular host, the Mistress of Games, M. Palladino, wasn't horrified into not speaking after learning this terrible truth about owls.
I was horrified by that, but not as horrified as I was by this game. This game is terrifying.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. We played a very scary game about the horrors of getting rolled up into a big old ball and then turned into a star.
Yeah, they don't really talk about what happens to
They
the
die.
people.
They're all dead. Everyone's dead.
They're in space. Yeah. They're done.
They
Although,
get
do you
turned
think,
into plasma.
So if the ball's big enough,
Yeah.
such that it has its own gravity, then as it's shot away from the Earth, would it take some of the Earth's atmosphere with it?
I mean, I guess
so they might survive reef.
They might. I guess the question is, are the stars actually igniting? In which case, they're dead.
Must. They're lighting up.
They're most definitely dead.
Yeah, they do.
Or
this reminds me of a great episode NPR did a long time ago where they were basically just went into this chat room. I forget what it was, and like pulled interesting questions. And one of the questions was, what if the world was blueberries? And they went into like a deep dive into the physics of like, okay, if everything in the world turned to blueberries, what would happen? And it was chaos. Very interesting. I encourage anyone to look it up if they're curious what would happen if the world was blueberries.
That's incredible. Great thought experiment. I'm glad the Katamari Damacy has put us in this place almost instantaneously. So before we get into Katamari, our usual plugs, a reminder you can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. You can support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. We got more people again. We are, I think, 4 people away from having to play Sonic 06. You could be that person. Tell a friend, but if you bump up your contribution and then tell me, and I will allow you to add a friend to the Discord, that could do it too. If you're not paying them, let's like bump it up a little bit, and then that would count. We are so close. Look up how to get it, because we might need it soon. Sonic 06. But so yeah, if you were to join the Patreon, it gets you access to our Discord. You could say comments. You could talk to us. And if you were to do so, you might end up on the Discord report.
The Discord report. Boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. This week on the Discord, we've been playing Final Fantasy 15. Some of us.
Yep.
Sure have.
That podcast is coming soon, the part 2 of FF15. I finished it. I got a certificate. The game gives you a certificate at the end.
Really?
It's
Like
really
you finished
good.
like a online course or something?
Yeah, like you could print it out.
Can you add it to your LinkedIn?
You better.
Yeah, you could add it to your CV, put it on, just staple it onto any resume you have.
Just staple it to my chest. Put it
yeah,
on the front of every
exactly.
shirt I wear.
You want everyone to know that, right? Other than that, what else is going on in here?
We need some more people for the Fantasy Basketball League because
yeah.
our draft is probably going to be next week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
soon.
so soon.
It's so soon. The preseason's happening right now.
Oh,
Who's the consensus top pick? Jokic?
It's Jokic.
Giannis?
It's Jokic.
Jokic.
I mean, he does
win
everything
this time.
He does.
He does a
getting
lot
it.
of everything. So yeah, that's coming. If you're in the Discord and want to join, just ping me, or join the Discord so you can join and beat us up.
Yeah,
Em and I, we need competition.
we are going to have out our tie from last season.
Yes.
We're gonna figure out the true winner this time.
We are also trying to put together a watch party of Dear Christmas
Yes.
on the Discord. Which, Pete, are you aware of Dear Christmas?
I'm not. I did, Gino, you're 1 for 1 in Christmas movie recommendations, though. I watched the, Santa Claus is a Murderous Viking one, and I enjoyed it.
Good. It's
Wait.
It's great.
Which one's that? Is that
Violent
Santa
Night.
He's not a murderer. He's just
He kills a lot of people.
yeah, they die, but he's
By his hand.
He is abdicated by the narrative.
That's true. They're justified in self-defense.
Yes. Vindicated, shall we say?
Yes. He's not just killing to kill. That's
Yes.
fair.
It's not wanton murder.
Oh,
Yes.
but there is another movie coming out, which is basically the same title, Silent Night, which is a John Woo film with no dialogue, which is just a man going on a violent rampage against people who I think killed his wife. So it's like if you want John Wick, but you didn't want any of that dialogue that was getting in the way, you can watch this.
Is this
John
movie?
Wick known for its dense dialogue.
Yeah, exactly.
But is it set on Christmas or is it just?
It is set on Christmas Eve. Yes,
Okay,
that's the
okay.
other thing.
I was going to say, is Christmas not involved at all? Because that'd be very funny.
No, he specifically picks out to do it on Christmas for some reason. I don't know why,
Excellent.
but
Fewer cops, maybe.
yeah, I guess they want to.
What is Dear Christmas, though? First off, how do we spell it?
DEAR, Christmas spelled normal. So it is not. It's not a movie with deers that are experiencing Christmas for the first time.
That's good. I'm not a fan of deer.
It's a Christmas movie about podcaster. It's a podcaster romance Christmas romance movie.
Have we, as a society, we've exhausted all the other Christmas movies? This is what we've come to?
We're burning through at least 4 to 5 Christmas concepts a year at this point, if not more. This is what we're reduced to. The main character's name is Chris Massey.
Oh my God.
Boo!
What is happening?
Boo!
Yeah, so we're
What
going to
sort
watch.
of podcast is it?
I don't know. I haven't looked at the description in a while. But
if it's a very Joe Rogan Christmas, I'm not seeing this.
It isn't. Let me pull up Dear Christmas. It's a 2020 movie. Okay, so
And a
here's the
professional
description.
Writer, name somebody Chris Massey.
Okay, here's how it goes. Natalie has a hit podcast based on love, but she isn't so expert at finding it herself. Until Chris Massey enters her life and shakes things up, not to mention his name.
Oh my God.
It stars Melissa Joan Hart.
I mean, I like her.
Is this a Lifetime movie?
I don't think I've seen her since 1998, but I liked her then.
Let me see that. Dear Christmas. Who produced you, Dear Christmas? No, Lifetime. It is a Lifetime movie, yes.
That makes so much sense. All right, it all comes together.
So it's of a high quality. We know this.
Yes.
So yeah, that's coming in the Discord.
Why? Wait, hold on. Why is it coming in the Discord?
Because Jeff really wants to do it.
Why?
co-host of Off the Deep End, because he wants to.
Okay.
People are allowed to have joy in their life and just want to do a thing just to do it.
I mean, true, I guess.
You don't say that about people who climb mountains. Jeff's mountain is watching Dear Christmas.
I mean,
Kinda
that's
do
the
say
same
that
as-
about people who climb mountains, though.
That's true. That's a good point.
I don't climb mountains, but I know you do.
I occasionally hike, but not. I don't climb. I climbed a rock wall recently. Speaking of obsession of the week, I climbed a rock wall
Nice segue.
at a rec center.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm scared of heights, and so I decided
Oh,
I was
okay.
gonna try it out. Like the rock
Like
wall.
full belay and everything.
It was a belay. Yeah, it's a climbing
Nice.
wall, like at the local rec center. That it was closed for COVID reasons for a long time, and now it's open again. So I went and I climbed the rock wall. I reached the top. I'm trying
See.
now. I'm trying some of the harder ones.
I've tried to climb a rock wall before, and I'm scared of heights, so I would get 3 feet off the ground and then be like, no, thank you. And then I would go back down, and then the guy who sets you up with the straps around you
Mm-hmm.
would be really mad at me for wasting his time.
Mm.
So I don't think I'm going to do that, but I'm glad you had fun.
Yeah, I just focused on going up and trusted the belay. But I got 30 feet up. It wasn't bad.
Nice.
It was fun. I did it a few times. It's a good workout. It works out muscles
It
I
is.
don't usually work out.
Mhm.
It is.
Mhm. There's one more thing for the Discord report
Okay.
that I want to shout out. Harley made some cheesecakes last week.
That's true. Harley was very
Yes.
proud of them.
Yes, they are very good. They were very good, and if you wanted to see pictures, you could see them in the food channel if you scroll up past all the horrible stuff going on.
And for people who aren't in the Discord who don't know who Harley is, who is Harley?
Harley's my roommate. Say hi, Harley. Hello. That's Harley.
Harley's
I
so
could hear
far
that.
away. You could barely hear him. Okay, now tell Harley to quiet down because we're
All right.
recording.
Nope, don't say hi anymore.
You know, cheesecakes are really more of pies than anything else.
That's true. All right, so without further ado, speaking of objects that are in the world that could potentially be in a Katamari ball and punted into the sky, Katamari Damacy. What is Katamari Damacy?
Katamari Damacy. Damacy?
So it's spelled
is-
Damacy in English, but it's pronounced
Yes.
it's a she at the end.
Damacy. Yep. They describe it as a puzzle game, which seems loose.
Feels
Um,
generous.
Yeah. It was released in Japan in 2004, and it is about being a little dude with a very sticky ball, and you roll that ball around in order to turn everyday objects into stars, because your father, the king of all cosmos, destroyed the stars somehow.
Yeah.
Just kind of went on a little tirade and blew up all the stars. And so we need to put those back, and the only way we can do that is by sending you out to Katamari them.
Yeah, so
Your description raises an excellent question, though. Em.
uh-huh.
Yes.
How do things stay attached to the Katamari? Because
Yeah.
it can't just be stickiness, because that would only help for the first layer.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too. I think it imbues anything that touches it with the same stickiness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Once you're trapped in the Katamari, you are trapped, and
Cannot
Although
escape.
you're
not necessarily.
you're reaching arms. They simply pull others to their doom.
Yeah. You could slam into something and things will fly off the Katamari and
True.
then they're free again.
That's true.
Such as how I lost a present on one of my last runs.
Terrible.
Yes.
So yeah, as you said, the king of all cosmos, the opening cutscene of the game, goes on a bender.
Your father.
Your father. You are the prince of all cosmos. The king of all cosmos is kind of flying around the sky, bouncing off of stars and the moon, and basically wipes out the entire sky. And he charges you with going to Earth with these Katamari balls to soak up as many things as you can, roll them all up so that he can make new stars in the sky. For those who are probably wondering, for those who aren't familiar with Katamari Damacy, what does Katamari Damacy mean in English?
Katamari Damacy means clump spirit or soul of clump in some other translations.
Yes, spirit of the wad.
Yes.
Spirit of the Wild is so like which part's which? Is Katamari clump?
Yes, clump. And Damacy is spirit.
Yes.
Shouldn't there be a no in there somewhere? Katamari no Damacy?
No. It's fine. It's a compound. Okay. It's a compound word, kind of.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's just two kanji.
Excellent title.
Yeah.
It's two kanji next to each other, and they kind of look similar as well. So I guess
why they named it that?
So we don't usually do this. We usually do this on Off the Deep End with the kind of long preamble before discussing the game to kind of give the history. But I feel like this game deserves it because it's so damn strange. So the developer was Keita Takahashi. He was the lead developer and designer of this game. He was an art student and a game artist at Namco in the late 90s, early 2000s. He came up with the name. It was just like one day it just came to him and then it stuck. Like no one changed it after he said Katamari Damacy. Everyone was like, yep, that's the name. But he had the idea for the Prince of All Cosmos and the King of All Cosmos before he came up with this concept. He eventually came up with the Katamari concept, but there were very rigid distinctions between developers and artists and sound designers, and like it was a very regimented system at Namco in the early 2000s. If you had a good idea for a game and you were an artist, you didn't get to just pitch it and have someone take you seriously. It was treated like you're out of your lane. Go back to sketching. So he basically had to work around the system to get this game made. He went to the Namco Digital Hollywood Game Laboratory, which it was like a development studio for people out of college or like fresh out of college to get their feet wet in the game industry. And it was, I believe, based in the US, based in Hollywood. So he basically went to that studio to get a prototype of Katamari Damacy made. And he had those like game students making all the 3D models, which is how they got so many 3D models. Like he had really early artists kind of practicing by making these very basic models that ended up being the objects that we roll up in this game. And they basically made an entire demo of this. They were trying to like prototype the thing. Then they found out about the PS2. They had a hard time getting development kits, so then they were going to maybe make it a GameCube game. But they eventually settled on making it a PS2 game, and they then completed the prototype in like about 6 months. They presented it for internal review. Namco gave it a green light to development. The team was 20 people between a couple of different internal Namco companies. The budget was 100 million yen, which is about $650,000 to $800,000 US dollars at the time, which is about a tenth of the budget allocated for things like Ridge Racer or Soul Calibur. So this was a really cheaply made game. It took about a year and a half to develop, with 8 months of prototyping, not including the 8 months of prototyping. And the game was released at a lower price point. It was sold for the equivalent of $20 instead of full price games going for $60 at the time. So it was released at a discount. There were a lot of notes that came early on saying like, maybe the game should be more complicated. Maybe we should have more mechanics going on than just rolling stuff up. And basically everywhere along the line, Takahashi kept the thing as simple as possible, thinking that the joy of rolling things up was enough. And any additional complexity would just remove from the joy of the basic experience.
God, what would you even add?
Exactly. Imagine like coming to this game with notes.
But they made more games in the series.
They did, but yeah, but like for the first game, I think it was a great choice. Like the music of this game is so unique. Like Pete, have you had any exposure to Katamari Damacy before playing it?
No, this is my first cat. I mean, I was aware of the concept, like rolling things up, but this is the first time I've ever played a Katamari game.
What was your thought? What was your first impression when you booted the game up?
I did love the music. I love the art style of like the little interstitial comic bits. Those are really good. It's fun. It's bright. There's like, it's simple in the best way possible.
Yeah, for sure. And what did you think about the sound?
Oh God, I mean, just bangers, wall to wall.
Sound design is amazing in this game, both in the music sense and also whenever you roll something up, it makes a noise, and there will just be so many noises happening all at once. People will be shooting at you. There will be like phones ringing. Like, it's truly a experience you need to see yourself, because
it's also weirdly terrifying.
yeah.
Like there's one level where you just roll up birds. I think they're swans.
Yeah.
And you just get a giant ball of constantly flapping swans, and it was one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen in my life.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, the amazing thing to me is, well, another thing kind of the history of this game, it was only released in Japan early on. The publisher, Namco, didn't think that this game would do well in the US or would not be possible to release in the US. Like, US people would go to, like, US game media would go to, like, Tokyo Game Show, and they'd see Katamari Damacy and go, this thing's amazing. Why isn't this in the US? And they eventually contributed, like, eventually they convinced, like, Namco to release it in the US. But it was not, there weren't very many copies available in the United States at first. It's amazing. Like, this is a true word of mouth experience. This was a game that, it was one of the last games that were weird and Japanese and novel before globalization kind of took over, and a lot of, I would say, funneling of concepts started happening across the industry. Like, this is one where it came out of Japan, the idea came out of Japan, a lot of the execution is very Japanese. It just didn't draw from any inspiration from other games for the most part. It feels wholly foreign in many ways. I mean, down to the control scheme. Like, Em, what did you make of it? No other games control like this.
So, before I say anything, I played on the keyboard. What did you play on?
I played on a PS5 controller.
Yes. So, on the keyboard, it's basically WASD, forward, left, right, back, like usual. But then it's also IJKL. And so if you want to go forward, you have to push W and I at the same time. And then if you want to rotate, you push like I and A, and that'll turn you left. And then I and D will turn you right. And so it's kind of like a weird dual stick thing that they got going on, but on the keyboard. And if I could have found a working controller, I would have loved to play it on that, but mine didn't work. Yeah, it hurt my hand a little bit.
Yeah, that is not the way to play this. Dual sticks is the way you want. It's a lot. You want the analog control. You want the fuzziness between each of the directions, so you have a little bit more fine control.
Yeah.
Pete, how did you find the controls?
I also used a controller, Gino, and I mean, it's just like every bit of Katamari is just unique. You know what I mean? If this were just like sort of standard, FPS run and shoot controls, it would have been, I mean, it would still be a good game, but it would have been against the ethos of Katamari.
Yeah, it's fun. This is a game where you sometimes are fighting against the controls because you're moving this giant unwieldy ball of writhing flesh. And it's good that it's hard to control the flesh ball. I think it's for the best that it fights against you. It does not want to be. And the controls, and it makes it fun. Like when you pick up a thing that's oddly shaped, it's like, dang it, the Katamari's got a light post in it. Now it's got this weird skip in it when I roll it around, and that's going to make it annoying to roll over hills. But maybe because I've got a stick stuck in it, I can jump over this fence if I roll it just right. Or like there's basically a 180 move that you can do where you just jump to the other side of the ball. And because they dedicate both sticks to controlling the ball, there's not a stick to control the camera. So a lot of times the right thing to do is just do a 180 jump back to the other side of the ball, because otherwise it won't, you will lose momentum and not be able to fix your controls correctly. It's very cool.
It is.
I
The
think.
Prince of all Cosmos, too, is also like a hapless figure. Like, he's not suave. He's not like capable seeming. So it's just nice that it's also hard to roll because you're this tiny little Cosmos Prince.
Yeah, you're this
His
tiny little dude.
father's so mean to him.
He is.
He's
Super
like-
mean dad.
Yeah, he's like, get out there and roll him up, you ignorant child. Stuff like that whenever a level starts.
I love that the King of all Cosmos uses the royal we.
True.
Well, obviously, he's the king of
I
all
also-
Does he-
cosmos.
I love his chain. I love his abs.
Does he like literally speak in record scratches?
Yes.
Like, is that what the
Mhm.
Cosmos language is, or is that just like sound dubbing?
That's what it sounds like. Who are you to say how he should sound?
It's true. I'm not the king of all cos. I mean, he rules all the cosmos. He's not the king of some cosmos.
Exactly. And I just love every level. It starts with the King of all Cosmos going like, he will say basically hello in a language and be like, yeah, I was in this country. You're never going to go there. But it was awesome. And I got you a present, but I'm not going to, I dropped it. I dropped it on Earth. Go find it, I guess, or don't. But bring me back a star. It has to be this big. And every level when it says, I can only believe in you for this long. That's the timer. It's how long will he believe in you? It's so good. And we haven't really said, like, we've said you roll stuff up. Pete, how would you describe the gameplay? What do you do? How do you do
you
this?
roll stuff up. So you have your Katamari, and it starts off very tiny. And as you roll up things, your Katamari gets bigger and bigger, allowing you to roll up even larger things. So maybe when you start the level, you're rolling up thumbtacks and like little bits of lint and gum and whatnot. And if it goes on long enough, eventually you roll up, trees, people, buildings, entire continents. Like, it just scales and scales and scales. And then you have to make sure you don't hit something that's too big, like Em said, or things will pop off your Katamari. And then you have, let's say, 10 minutes to reach your goal. Could be, 15 meters. It could be rolling up a specific amount of something. Like at a certain point, you have to roll up 100 maidens to shoot into space.
Yeah. 'cause-
Or there's one very frustrating level where you have to get as close as you can to exactly 10 meters in Katamari
Huh.
width.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love that. I love the challenge levels so much. But yeah,
The-
the basic levels are just get to a certain size, and then the levels where you have to make constellations, you have to kind of do something related to the constellation. So like if it's Virgo, you have to roll up a lot of ladies.
Mhm.
You
You know.
roll a bunch of crabs.
Yeah.
For
That's
Cancer.
another disturbing one.
The one of those that drove me insane is the one where you are making Ursa minor or major,
Or some
and you have to
nature.
roll. Yeah, you have to roll up bears, but there are bears everywhere, and he only wants one bear.
Well, he only wants the
So-
biggest bear.
Yeah, he wants a single large bear, and so if you roll up the first bear you see, which is probably going to be really small, you're not going to get a very good score. But you can end that level in like 3
It's like
seconds
10
because
seconds. Yeah.
there's one right in front of you. And so I tried to do that a few times, and finally I was like, you know what? You're just getting a medium bear, I think.
Yeah, and the definition we should say for like bear or maiden, it's real loose.
Mhm.
So like a teddy bear counts as a bear. Like
Yes.
if something has a bear, is holding a bear, that's a bear. A guy in a bear suit is a bear. Maidens like a doll. A like a doll that is shaped like a girl, that counts.
Mhm.
A crossing sign that says "Do not hit children." If it's a
Yeah.
girl, that's a maiden.
My favorite one of those in the bear level was a sign that was like, "Beware of bears." And I touched that without knowing what the sign said because it's in Japanese.
And it's like, that's a bear. That's
It's like, oh,
Way to go.
okay.
Uh,
Thank you.
yeah. They're very. This is a really funny game. This is maybe the funniest game we played this year. It's just the physical comedy, and I feel like not enough. You know, when we talk about Katamari, we usually talk about how absurd it is and how funny some of this stuff is. But the gameplay concept of the obstacles that you see right now will be the stuff you want to target later is really a smart
Yeah.
game design.
Mhm.
Because, like, early on, you're picking up, like, pieces of gum and coins and thumbtacks and stuff. And you're bumping into playing cards or mice and stuff like that, and that's the stuff that you're avoiding because it's too big. It's basically functionally a wall. But once your Katamari gets to a certain point, it's like, uh-oh, the prey becomes the predator, and now everything that used to give you trouble is what you are trying to roll up. And this concept plays itself out as you scale up over and over and over again. And as you said, Pete, like, at first you're starting out, you know, with trees being an obstacle or buildings being an obstacle, walls, all that sort of stuff will just bounce you off. And at a certain point, like, nah, you want all those buildings in this ball. You want all those trees. You want the island you started on in this ball because it's too big.
My favorite turn is when you pick up a human for the first time. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh, now it's something else. There has been a shift that occurred.
Yeah. I mean, the first 2-3 levels take place at a house, and the game is careful to only give you a certain amount of time rolling around each level. And that's kind of what gates you from, like, immediately doing everything in a level. Is that you don't have enough time to get big enough, or they don't provide you with enough items to really get big enough. But did you take the kids in the house?
Oh, of course. I mean, nothing like special happened that I remember.
No, I just remember being like, oh,
Yeah.
those people, they're so big. I'm just rolling around. And then at a certain point, it's like, I want that kid in here.
The kid, get the child.
This
Ball starts talking to you.
the family, look, I couldn't get Ma and Pa, but little Timmy,
Get your kids.
I took their kids, though.
Yep.
You know, the first time I rolled up a person, it reminded me of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's like Katamari's an excellent alien invasion game because it just shows like how indifferent these aliens are to the people. Like the people are just fodder for this giant Katamari they're building. It doesn't matter if they're alive or not. And Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, if you've ever read the series, starts with a bunch of alien construction workers basically coming and demolishing the Earth to build a bypass for the intergalactic highway because it's just in the way. So they destroy it. And Katamari operates on the same logic. Oh, these people are mass for our star? Roll them up.
Yeah, and the story is also very good as well. Like, after every level, after the main story levels, you hear about this family that, like, wanted to see the stars, and then one of the kids notices all the stars are gone, and the mom's like, no, that's not true. You're just a little kid. That can't be right. And like every level, it's like, Ma, I swear the stars aren't there. And she's like, we're going to go see your dad. Your dad's an astronaut. And the dad's like, yeah, I couldn't do my moon mission because the moon's gone. And then by the final level, they're in space because their whole town got rolled up.
Yep.
Yep.
And now they're dead.
They died together.
No, they didn't. Maybe they didn't.
Well,
Maybe they're on the moon.
They became the moon.
But at
So they
one
live
point,
on in a sense.
the kid is standing on the outside of the moon and is like, wow, I wish Mom and Dad were here.
Well, I mean, they're in there somewhere.
They're under you. You're stepping on Mom and Dad. I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, I love. And what happens when you finish one of the constellations?
Oh, the little girl. What's the line that she says?
I feel the cosmos.
I feel the cosmos. And then she does like a T-pose on you. And then the constellation shows up behind her, and it's very intense.
Yeah, it's so good. This game's tone is so good.
I've also learned more about constellations playing Katamari than I have in like the 30 years of my life previous to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it tells you a little bit about them, a little bit, at least.
I'm like, oh, that's what Pisces looks like? That doesn't look like fish at all.
Well, the better you do, the more stars actually end up in the constellation.
Really?
Yeah, if you don't do so good, some of the stars don't light up.
I'm bad at Katamari, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, some of them, people just, they tried when they came up with the constellations. They were like, I don't know, those three in a line, that's probably a fish.
Look at it jumping out of the river. Totally see that.
Did you ever fail to meet your quota, of a certain size? No?
Once in a challenge level, I did. He was very disappointed.
He is not happy.
Do you know what happens with the Katamari when it doesn't get turned into a star?
It's just like vaporized, right? It just becomes like lunar dust.
Yeah, he turns it into stardust, which is by throwing a meteor through it, and then it just explodes and goes all over space and becomes stardust.
He's such a jerk.
Yeah, which really carries on the question of what happens to the people in the Katamari?
They're stardust now.
They're stardust now. They've blown up.
We all started as stardust.
And back to it they return.
And so we shall again.
But I do really like at the end of the level, it tells you like how big. Occasionally there'll be break-ins during the level where they'll tell you like your Katamari is now as big as 20 chestnuts, as though that matters or something. And then at the end it'll tell you what things you rolled the most of, and the categories are very loose. It's like,
I think people's one of them.
People's one of them. Nature is another. Like
people,
stationary,
plants, fruits,
food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very good. Transportation, buildings. Yeah, I just really love the scorekeeping. It's ridiculous, and I what is the term? It's art.
Mm-hmm. Are video games art? We answer it here. This one is. This one can be.
Put this one back in the MoMA. It was in the MoMA.
None of these
Put it
other
Katamari was
other
in the
games
MoMA?
are.
It was.
Good choice. Good choice, Mama.
But yeah, this game, boy oh boy, incredible vibes, incredible sound. Like the music, the genres of music in this game were unexpected. Which is your favorite song? If you know
any
any
of the
titles. Yeah, there were some
you don't know the
techno
names.
bops though.
Yeah.
There were. I mean, Lonely Rolling Star is very, very good. It's the one that plays during Virgo. And, the second or third level too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The Katamari Mambo is very good.
I like the one that plays during the opening and also in the level where you're making the moon.
Yep.
I don't know what the name is, but it's a classic. It's the one I'm always humming to myself as I'm playing the game.
Yeah, let me see. What is the name of that one?
Katamari might have the best end credits sequence I've ever seen in a game too.
Oh yeah.
Where you just go around the globe rolling up countries and it tells you what countries you just absorbed.
It's the best way to do it, really.
It is.
Like, what else were they gonna do? Also in that end sequence, they have like the names of the prince and the king and the queen.
Katamari on the Rocks is the name of that song.
Yes. The prince is the prince of, and then the Japanese just translates to prince. So it's prince of prince, and then it's the same thing for king of king and queen of queen. I got a kick out of that.
Man, Roll Me In is really good too.
These are all great titles. Too,
it's the swing song. It's like, I want to roll away with you.
Yeah, that one's good.
They're so good. All of them are so good. This game's so good.
It's also a game that's screaming for metaphor.
Yes.
Like
There's
this
a
is a game that
metaphor here.
loves interpretation.
Which metaphor
Hold
do
on.
you want to apply to it, Pete?
Oh my goodness. I would like I'm sure that we could do a Marxist reading and say how it's like an anti-capitalist, like you know how capital just absorbs capital and becomes bigger and bigger? We could definitely do that. But my favorite is Katamari as disaster, like ecological disaster narrative. Like this force of nature comes to the earth and the people are powerless in front of it and it just wipes them all out indiscriminately and without remorse.
Yeah, my favorite interpretation of this is that Katamari is a collective action problem. Like early on, any single person could stop the Katamari, but no one does. Everyone leaves it to someone else to deal with the Katamari. Some people will chase you, but most people won't. And if they all simply chased you, they would live. But unfortunately, the people do not rise up against the Katamari, and so it comes for them all.
Until it's too late, and then they're in the Katamari.
And then like first it came for the maidens and then it came for me.
And that's the thing is like, you're hitting the same house. You're hitting the same town. Like these people,
They're trying to rebuild.
they're like, we replanted the trees. That farm isn't a farm anymore. It's got a big idol in it now. We tried to fix. But, you know, when the Katamari comes the next time, they're just like, they don't know what to do. They're powerless.
This would be like that short story, The Lottery, where like eventually people would just sacrifice like victims to the Katamari. They're like, we need to kill you lest the Katamari come again.
Yes.
They should be worshipping the Katamari as a god.
Lord King of all cosmos, we brought you a 40-pack of batteries. Please consider this big enough for the stars. A 40-pack of batteries, 7 melons, and 20 kazoos.
My favorite of those interstitial things is when the kid is looking out of the window of the plane and then he sees the King of all cosmos, the only indication that anyone even can see him. And then he's like, oh my god, there's a guy out there. And then the mom looks and there's nothing there.
That's really... Oh, I like the one where they're talking and you can see the Katamari rolling up the town in the background.
That one's good too.
Like, so this game, I did ask Jeff. Jeff, unfortunately, was too sick to join this show. I did ask where this game goes after this because mechanically, it feels perfect. Like they do just enough with some of the challenge levels to give you different ways to apply the Katamari than simply roll up everything all the time. And I guess they do more of that sort of stuff. Like more, hey, you roll up things that are this color. Or, hey, roll up things that are of this category. Or I don't know if there's any that are like knock things off of the Katamari, make the Katamari smaller. Apparently, like in development, Keita Takahashi got note. Like early on, they had more things like fall off when you bumped into stuff. But they found that the experience of losing size was not fun. And so they dialed that back.
I believe that. Do you know, like, did you get any indication what, like, the impetus for future Katamari is? Like, does the King of all cosmos just keep destroying stars?
Yes.
Oh.
He keeps going on benders.
So really, this is a game about alcoholism and the dangers.
The King of all cosmos likes to party.
Yeah. The prince does not get to party. He has to solve his father's mistakes.
Did you ever roll up any of the cousins?
No. Can you?
Oh, if you replay a level, I don't know if it's just if you replay it or if I just noticed them on replay, but there are like the cousins of the king rolling stuff up, and if your Katamari gets big enough, you can just take them, and the king will remark like, "Ah, there's your cousin. I see they lost weight. They're just in there."
What was your favorite gift to dress up the prince in?
Em, what about you? You go first.
I think I had the scarf on him for a while, and then after some time I got the guitar, and that replaces the scarf. I was like, the guitar is pretty cool, though.
I like the crown.
Yeah, the crown was the most recent one I got. I was like, seems a little on the nose.
I just wanted the prince to feel like a prince, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Treat yourself, king.
I liked the sumo outfit. What's the word? Muwashi?
Oh, I
There's
didn't.
a sumo
I didn't get that
outfit?
one.
I thought so. Yeah.
I
I
didn't
didn't
get that one.
either.
That's pretty good.
We gotta go back.
I rocked the
Muwashi,
headphones for a little
not
while.
Mu.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the headphones are good too.
Headphones are good. Yeah, this game's fun. And did you know there's multiplayer too?
Is there really?
Oh,
What,
yeah.
like you just try to each roll up your Katamari?
Yeah, so you're both rolling up a Katamari. You're like trying to see who can get, the biggest Katamari fastest to appease the king. Like you're co-oping on the levels. And the other person can play as one of the cousins on the space mushroom, which is where the cousins live. If one person gets big enough, they could just pick up the other person
What?
and put them in the Katamari.
That is
Okay,
amazing.
hold on. Follow me with this for a second. Don't steal this idea, anyone out there listening. We should do a Katamari like battle royale
Ooh.
situation where there's like 100 Katamaris in the world, all rolling stuff up, and the last one is the biggest one.
It's pretty good.
Oh,
Yeah.
and as you roll, if you're big enough, you just roll up the other players.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is a good idea. Do not
That's a
steal.
good idea. Do not steal. Do not steal. Copyright. Copyright.
I think the best idea that I'm still disappointed people have never made is Pokemon Sports.
Yeah.
Oh, that
I
would
feel
be
like
good
that'd be a
too.
lot of fun.
I want to see a Scyther try to throw a baseball.
Try to
Yeah,
hit a
it'd be
baseball
great.
and it just slashes through it.
Just slices.
Hits it with the broadside of its Scyther.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. Don't take that one either.
Nintendo,
Trademark.
don't you do it.
We know you're listening. We have the reach.
But yeah, I mean, this game, I just love the simplicity of your obstacles today are your food tomorrow.
Yeah.
And
My-
and the scale to which you eventually reach, like once you get to the point where you are rolling up the land masses that you were on earlier, that last level, the moon level, is the apotheosis of this concept, and it's like a half-hour level or something. Once you pull out far enough and realize, like, oh wow, they rendered stuff this far out too. Oh wow, there's like an entire series of islands here that I've never been to. There's a storm system over here. There's over here. There's a giant. There's Supermen fighting.
There's a Ultraman swinging a Godzilla around over here.
Yeah.
That's when you know it's getting crazy.
It's also super satisfying the sort of like exponential growth you experience. Like as you're first absorbing things, your Katamari is increasing by like centimeters. And then
Yeah.
suddenly it's like growing by these massive bounds of like kilometers.
Yeah, it's so good
Mhm.
when it reaches critical mass. It's when you're pulling weather systems out of the sky.
Yeah, rainbows. You can absorb rainbows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got stuck on the rainbow. It was too big.
Rainbow is too big.
Yeah.
We,
Yeah,
I
greedy.
That was literally, I hit, I think the maximum or the minimum you need to pass that level was like 300 meters. And I hit 300 meters underneath the rainbow and then I got stuck. And I just like kind of like couldn't get free in time to finish the level with much else. But I did it.
yeah, and speaking of like concepts, let me pitch you my Katamari movie.
Mm.
Do it.
Okay, so have you seen the movie like Valentine's Day or what was that British Christmas movie? Love Actually.
Sure.
You know those movies where it's just a bunch of people going about their separate stories, and their
Uh-huh.
stories kind of interlinking with each other.
Right.
I want
It's going to be nothing like that.
no, I want it exactly like that. Like everyone's living their little lives, and each of these people are terrible. They're just
Mhm.
having their own terrible story. Like a boyfriend who's inattentive. You've got a parent who's really disappointed in their gifted kid, but they can't appreciate it and see it. You know, maybe someone who's working all day at a dead-end job, and they're taking it out on all of their loved ones because they don't feel fulfilled. And then at one point in the story, they just get rolled up. The ball comes for them, and they just get rolled up. And then at the end, it turns out like the town is getting rolled up, and it becomes a catastrophe movie. But it starts in small little vignettes of all of these people, so you feel something when they get rolled up, and then it ends. It's a horror movie. in the end.
That's good. I'd like to make an alternate pitch. It's not going to be that far from yours.
Okay.
I'd like
But
to
I
add
think-
something on when you're done.
Okay.
Yes.
I think a good avenue to take this disaster movie you're pitching is like, you ever see Shin Godzilla?
I've wanted to.
I want to, but I haven't.
It's very
Yeah.
good. Came out in 2016. It's a Godzilla movie. But basically, the whole thing is about like this bureaucracy trying to respond to Godzilla. So it's like Godzilla is just sort of out there, and they're like, "Shit, how do we do this?" And like, we need to coordinate all these different factions of the government. I think that'd be the way to do it. Like this Katamari is just out there absorbing things, and we need to respond to it like it's Godzilla. And Gino, like you said, it's a collective action problem. It becomes Shin Godzilla.
Well, Germany, why did your simple folk not kick it when it was small?
It landed with you originally.
Exactly. Yes.
My improvement upon the previous ideas would be I think we need to see the Katamari moving in the background of certain shots,
Yes.
like rolling out very small things, just like not focused on it or anything, but if you're paying attention, you're just like, oh wait, there it goes.
Yeah, it's like they're
the
at a
fuck is that?
cafe. They're at a cafe, and in the little display case, you can see
Yeah,
the muffins getting
he's just
picked
moving
up.
around in there. Yeah, exactly. You get it. I was picturing a cafe. Exactly. And then at the end, there needs to be like fighter planes shooting at it, and it gets like it hits the planes, and then the planes are in the Katamari.
Exactly.
They
Yes.
try to
Yeah.
nuke the Katamari, but it just sticks to it. It doesn't explode.
It doesn't explode.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. They're like, we got to send it out into the ocean, and then it goes out into the ocean, and then they're just sea monsters stuck in it.
Yep.
It comes back bigger. Yeah.
It's like we've only made it stronger.
There were species under the ocean we did not even know were on this ocean, but now they are in the ball.
It has gained all the powers of the sea.
How did it even end? I mean, there's no stopping the Katamari. I guess it would just hit the point it was supposed to reach and just stop.
Well, the king of all cosmos would show up and then recall
yeah.
the Katamari and then
It'd be
punt
like-
it into the stars.
Yeah, I think the icing on the cake would be, this isn't big enough.
Yes, and then he smashes it
Yeah.
into
Stardust.
stardust.
Boom.
And see, that's why you want all the stories of these people. You want these people to all be terrible. You want
No,
them to
there's
be
no
people
saving
who
them.
you are hooting and hollering when it gets smashed into stardust. I want in the entire cast of Succession thrown into the Katamari and then
That'd be
punted into
pretty
the
good.
stars.
What if in the last episode of Succession, they just got Katamari?
Just
Exactly.
rolls across New York. No warning for 4 seasons before that.
That would
Just
have been the
you-
best way for that show to end.
Yes,
oh boy.
Like imagine if it was like what was the movie where it's dreams inside of dreams? It's the top.
Oh, Inception.
Inception.
It's like
Yes.
Inception, where the sound effects are actually the sound effect, like the song from the beginning slowed down.
Mm.
But like it turns out the Succession song is na 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 da, 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 but it's slowed down or sped up.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, make
Yeah,
it scary. Yeah,
exactly.
that would be good. All right. I think we
Um,
nailed it.
Yeah, I'm
We're-
100% on board for the Katamari movie.
I'll start writing the script.
Let's spec this. I'm sure. What's the Katamari license? It's probably not that expensive.
Can be. No, we can get this license. We're fine.
My wife has just messaged me to tell me that someone needs to hire us. Our brain are so big and full of good ideas.
It's
Yes, that's true. Our brain is big and full of good ideas.
It was you, but I figured I should include you too, since my brain is so big. You
Yeah,
guys
I
can come
least-
too.
true. Want an executive producer credit.
Yes,
Yes.
we can make that happen.
Excellent. Good. Let's do lunch.
What would
Mhm.
so like the New Yorker did a great story about Foley artists recently, like the
Mhm.
people
course
who
they did.
do like sound effects basically, but just like everyday sort of stuff.
Yep.
Mhm.
And I'm just wondering what the Foley would be for like when the Katamari absorbs something. Like, does it squish?
No, it
Does
just
it
makes the
crunch?
sound of the thing.
I mean, we know what it sounds like. It's
True, yeah.
Yeah, screaming and yeah.
Ring, ring,
Weird
ring.
crab noises.
Yeah.
Yep, skittering of crabs. Yeah, exactly. You get it.
People screaming in various languages.
But abruptly cut off when you pick up the next thing and the next
Yeah.
thing and the next thing.
I don't know if I mentioned I had a glitch where there were cops shooting at the Katamari, and then I either couldn't find them to roll them up, or it just got stuck on that like gun noise
Mm-hmm.
for like 5 minutes, and I was like, "This is kind of I don't know if it's supposed to be doing this."
They're just shooting shots into the Katamari, just
Yeah.
ending people, but not the Katamari.
Just feeding it.
Yeah, they're trying to put everyone in the Katamari out of their misery. That's really what it is.
They're growing
They
it.
were mercy killing the people in the Katamari.
They're
This game
simply
is
growing
so
the
dark.
Katamari. They're growing it a few bullets at a time.
Yeah.
Something that we didn't mention in our spec script is that there should be someone who was in the Katamari and then they bumped into a tree and then they fell off of the Katamari and no one believes them.
They go running to tell people like, "You've got to evacuate. It's too big. You'll
They've
be
got-
absorbed into it."
Exactly. Just like, but you only have a little bit of gravel in you. I was only in there for a few seconds, but it was horrifying. A hand grabbed my pants.
There's got to be like a YouTube channel or something. Like Corridor probably made one of these, like a Katamari, but dark. I'm sure it's out there.
But dark. Katamari is dark.
It is.
True.
It's horrifying
Yes.
the more you think about it.
Oh, we didn't say anything about how the levels end with the rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
The King of All Cosmos vomits a rainbow out to tractor beam you back to space,
Yep. As one would expect.
as is fitting. Yeah, so that's Katamari Damacy. Any other thoughts other than this game is awesome?
It is. I encourage everyone to play it.
I'm watching a YouTube video called Real Life Katamari, but it does not have a Katamari. It just has a guy who trips in like a Seattle street and starts doing Katamari stuff.
No, that's not
But-
it. No.
But if it has this kind of feel to it, that's kind of what we're looking at. Without the like colorful and cute style, really changes the vibe.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And the art style, we didn't say, but like the simple art style of this game does so much work for it, making
True.
all of the characters with these like square angles and very blocky. Like making everything simple makes the ridiculousness pop all the more, and it just makes it really fun to roll things up. Like everything being so abstracted, I think really works in its favor. And it makes it so that this game could run on a PlayStation 2.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
ton of just stuff on screen at any one point.
Mhm.
There's actually, Katamari Damacy has a patent for the technology for keeping the ball round as you pick things up.
Huh.
Really?
You know, you're picking things up and they're getting added to the ball, but the ball never deforms in such a way that it's, you know, a block or something and won't roll.
Yeah, sure.
See-
It gets like certain bumps, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking how sometimes I would absorb like a telephone pole or something, and then I would have like this big thing sticking out the side. But I guess usually if you don't do that, it doesn't get weird.
But
Yeah, it
even
just stays
then,
around.
like as you pick more things up, it will fill in the gaps around the telephone pole and eventually you're rolling smooth again. So like the
Okay.
technology for how it determines where things should be in the ball so that it looks right, but also still rolls properly, they patented that.
Huh. It isn't just
Observed.
whatever is on the bottom. I guess not.
Yeah, it's got
It's
to
not just where it
distribute
makes
properly.
contact.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And then they also, I mean, another thing to think about is the scaling. Like when you scale up, they do de-render some things and render new things. But to keep this game scaling the way it does on a PS2 hardware, it's pretty darn impressive. Like they do it by gating parts of the level, so you can't get to them until you're a certain size. So, you know, you don't have to render parts of the level until you could potentially interact with it. But, you know, the way that it scales up and down is pretty darn impressive. Man, this is a PS2 game. What the heck?
What have we been doing since? Why have we continued making
2004.
video games? This
We
was
did
the
it.
peak.
Yeah, we're
why have
done.
video games run fallow?
Yeah.
All right, well,
Man.
do we have any other closing thoughts on Katamari Damacy?
I got nothing.
I feel the cosmos.
And it's terrifying. All right, well, with that, I believe it is now your turn once again, Pete?
It is.
Yes.
It is my turn. So before I tell you what we're playing, I want to make it clear this is a puzzle game. So if you search for this and find anything other than a puzzle game, you only have yourselves to blame.
Okay.
So we are going to be playing World of Goo.
Oh, I know
Oh.
this one.
I know this one.
Okay.
Well, haven't
Good,
we
we're on the
played
same
this
page.
before?
No,
I have.
we've played another game by the same developer.
Okay.
Oh.
I believe Little Inferno is by the same people. Yeah, let me just check. This is developer 2D Boy. What other games do they make? Oh, maybe not. Maybe
Huh.
not. Maybe this just came out of... is this the Little Inferno people? I think that it is. But I have heard of World of Goo.
Regardless, it is a puzzle game that came out, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, I think, at this point.
No.
No? I looked at the wrong date. I apologize.
2008. 15 years
Yeah.
ago.
Oh, 15. Even better. Even more topical and fitting for a Deep Listens podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But it is award-winning. So I'm going to continue my string of picking award-winning puzzle games.
Excellent.
This looks like a good companion piece to Katamari.
I feel like it.
Oh, most definitely. All right, so next time up, we are playing World of Goo. Join us. So thank you, dear listeners. Reminder, you can get in touch with the show at Deep Listens Pod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. You can support the show at patreon.com/deeplistens. Thank you, M.
I'm going first this time. Thank you. Good game. Play this game. If you haven't heard of it, where you been?
Thank you, Pete.
I don't know what happened such that I fell on the hierarchy of episode goodbyes. But good game. I echo M's sentiments. Everyone should play it.
I shook it up this time. All right, and thank you, dear listeners. Till next time, peace.